Hi everyone and welcome to Trish Time. Today we welcome Michele Phillips, who's a professional speaker and the author of the book Happiness is a Habit. Hi Michele.
Hello Trish, thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to be here. So why don't we start off with you telling us a little bit about how you've entered the speaker's world and also about being an author.
Oh, there's so many pieces here, but if you really follow the trail of, I started out in sales training. I was working at Verizon Wireless, which led me to sales psychology, which I found fascinating, which led me to go back to Fordham for my master's, which led me to start my own business. And then the book came from that. Mm-hmm. But it was following the things that really energized me, and started off being sales psychology, and now it's more positive psychology, and it's what makes one person different than the other given the same circumstances.
Mm-hmm. So besides that, okay, so you're now a professional speaker, so who are the clients, who are the people that actually ask you to speak? Like what problem or what solution are they looking for? What are they trying to solve for?
Okay, so I work in a variety of different ways. But basically, a lot of the things I have to do with all come into the same bucket of emotional intelligence and positive psychology. I work with many clients. Shot is right here in Elmsford. I'm speaking at Con Edison on Friday. So it's different. They want their employees to be happier. They want their employees to know how to speak to each other. So it's not just that positive psychology that I do with my clients that I teach, but I also teach emotional intelligence. I teach communication skills. I kind of like to have fun. I teach people how to play nice in the sandbox. A lot of times people are very good at what they do, but then there's all these other people involved, and it gets messy when you get emotions and drama, and how do you navigate other people?
Yeah, so basically you're talking about working relationships and job satisfaction. Okay, so give me a for instance of a situation that you helped solve recently.
Oh, recently. Well, I do a lot
not even recently.
Okay.
Maybe.
I mean, I do a lot of
something that sticks out in your head.
I know. One of the things. Okay, here's a good one. Off the cuff. One of the things I've done most recently with one of my oldest clients was we've been doing a lot of training over the years for the masses, for the different levels, the upper management, middle management, and then the rest. And still, they had all these issues at the bottom or these different things happening. And finally, I said, why are we concentrating on everyone? Let's focus on the people who want this, the people who are good. So we created this Emerging Leaders program where we're bringing individuals that have been marked as leaders, future leaders, kind of like a succession planning, where they go through a 9-month program. And every month they take a class, and there's homework, and they write papers for me. We read books, we're doing presentations, and at the end there's a project. So we're doing everything with them from leadership, having your authentic voice, what is that, to stress reduction, mindfulness, happiness. All of these things come into play. If you're not happy with who you are, you can't lead other people. You can't, you become a name on an org chart that has I don't want to say it has no significance, but you don't know who you are.
You're a title as opposed to being anything else.
Yeah, so this program really taps into people. Who are you? Who are you? How do you connect your head to your heart? And where are you leading people? Why do you even want that position?
Mm-hmm. So you identified a certain group of leaders that are emerging. All right. What is it? I can see where you'd work with emerging leaders, but are there some leaders that are already have made it, have these larger titles that maybe need to be a little more self-aware? Do you get to work with them?
Yes, I do. Mostly that would be more coaching, right? Mm-hmm. Because nobody at a higher position sometimes always admits I need the help, right? Mm-hmm. But if it's one-on-one, I work with a lot of people, brilliant PhDs, researchers. They're just smart people, but they're using their left brain for everything. And they're not really bringing their whole self to work. So again, it's connecting your head to your heart. Yeah, you're fabulously brilliant, but people want to know you're human. Mm-hmm. So how do you merge that? And sometimes it's men, sometimes it's women. It depends, but it's interesting with women. Sometimes women at high levels find they're the only woman in the room. Mm-hmm. So they're not sure how should they behave. Yeah. But then when you're not sure, then you're not being you.
Yeah.
You're not being genuine. So my whole thing is to get people to be more genuine.
Well, okay. I've been in a lot of situations where I was the only woman in the room, at director level. I actually didn't have a hard time expressing myself and expressing my views. I believe that sometimes the people around me had a harder time, as again being the only female in the room, and I was working with people a little younger also, so they were a little new to the whole corporate environment, having just come up from tech. So they knew more about technology, but not so much about how to work within that space of the level they're working at, directorship level. Do you find, so what are the common problems that women have in those positions that you've coached?
Some of the people I work with, I think just, they almost cut off the personal altogether, and they think it has to be all business. Mm-hmm. It has to be all business. We don't talk about our personal lives. We're efficient. And they're really high performers, and they almost, I don't want to say they work too hard. They just care so much that they drive people almost too hard. Mm-hmm. And when you don't have the balance of, yeah, we're human and we're working really hard, it becomes just this unbearable force coming down on you, where when I talk to these people one-on-one, they're just fabulous, interesting people, but nobody at work realizes it. Mm-hmm. Because they're only bringing that one side of themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. How about, okay, another situation, because like you said, you like to look at it from different angles. Have you ever had a situation where you're working with upper-level management and they're really good at managing up, which is why they get promoted, but they're not very good at helping the people that report to them?
There's an interesting, now I'm going to start quoting books, and I don't know all the details, but I can give you, there's a great book out, and I can't remember the author right now. I'll have to look it up. You could put it up. It's called Givers and Takers. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting research they did with people who give and people who take. And they were using an interview question, tell me two people who you helped in your career. And the givers always talked about two people below them, and the takers always talked about two people above them. Mm-hmm. And so it's realizing that everybody's in this together. I mean, some people can get really good at climbing a ladder, but when you get to the top, nobody wants to work with them. Mm-hmm. It's realizing that everybody's on the team, and there's this fine line. So how do I make sure that when I'm climbing, I'm bringing everybody with me? Because it's no good to be up. It's hard work to get up there all by yourself. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And to back up and to tune into people, and that's where the emotional intelligence comes in, is to tune into people again and say, where am I missing? And taking the ownership as the leader. How can I connect better with you? Where am I missing? What would make you happy? And that's where the positive psychology, emotional intelligence, it all kind of works together. This is such a big topic, and I'm trying to give you tidbits here.
Yeah, absolutely. So what about the reverse? What about if you're really good at working with, the people that report to you and even more junior people, and with teams and laterally, but you're really not good at managing up? Yeah. What about
So what's the common denominator, right? So that's the thing what I love about all the research, emotional intelligence, positive psychology. It's what's your outcome, right? So what is your outcome you're getting? So if you don't like the outcome you're getting, whether it's managing up or managing down, the common denominator is you. So it's easy to, and that's where I think I come in a lot with my training, is taking responsibility for your outcomes and saying, if you're not getting the result you want, you could be doing it a little different. And that's not saying other people are wrong or right. It's not making anyone wrong or right. It's just, if you want to get to a certain outcome, the only one you have control over is you. And that's powerful. That's what I like about that.
It is, but as we know with psychology, everybody has their issues, especially as you start moving up and you start having a lot more life experience. Obviously, those who are younger are a little more moldable because they're coming into a setting with fresh eyes, But as you gain more experience in this type of environment, you become jaded. So, what are the have you met some in your career? Have you, as a coach, as a speaker, have you met a lot of resistance?
No, I haven't met a lot of resistance. I think what I'm really good at is meeting people where they are. right? So yes, people become jaded. Life chips away at you, and eventually you create this. I say you get old and crusty, kind of. You get hardened, right? You get hardened. Life hardens us. Yes. And I always say, don't let it harden you, right? So what I really love about doing the seminars I do is I meet everyone where they are, and I am an expert, but I'm not here to force you to do anything. I'm here to bring an idea, and hopefully you consider another way of looking at it. And all I ask you to do is try it on for 30 days. You try it on and you be the judge. Because I'm going to go home at the end of the day and you're going to still work here, and I just want you to have more joy. I want you to get through your day, I want you to get from your day, not through your day.
Yes. That's a good, I want you to get from your day, not
through your day. People, I'm just getting through the day. Yes. Living the dream. That's my favorite new one, right?
Working for the weekend.
Yeah, so I just give people options. Like, you have a choice. You could get jaded. Yeah, life is not fair, and things don't work out for any of us all the time. But you always have a choice.
So let's go back to the first situation, the second situation. And for example, somebody's really good at managing up, and she or he need to be more aware of the needs of the people that are reporting to them, or even reporting to those reporting to them. Like, what skill would you want them to develop?
Awareness, right? First of all, it's awareness that, again, everything you have in your life is based on decisions you have made. And taking that accountability and responsibility is so powerful. And that is where sometimes working one-on-one, we'll do assessments or we'll talk about things. I do a lot of journaling questions, and people will start to look and say, oh my gosh, I'm always the common denominator, right? Wherever I go, this is the experience I have. Well, so you have a choice. And again, if you ever have one of those days where you're just in a bad mood, and everywhere you go, like the traffic stinks, the lines are horrible, it just snowballs. That's positive psychology. So that snowball can go in the other way, right? You can have a day where everything just starts going the direction you want, based on where you focus, based on taking that responsibility, not relying on the conditions. Well, it has to be a sunny day, and my boss has to be in a good mood, and there has to be no traffic for me to be happy. Well, no, I'm going to be happy no matter what.
So it's about reframing.
It is.
So that's what you're talking
and
about.
People think that's too simple. But then they argue for their misery.
Yeah, but who wants to be miserable, right?
I would love to say no one, but there's lots of complainers out there.
There are. Well, see, I don't mind people that complain. Like, I'm, having worked in corporate, like you worked in corporate as well, I'm like, okay, I'll listen. I'll listen to what it is that you're talking about, what it is that you feel is an issue. But okay, let's get to the solution.
Yes.
And
that's a big difference than everybody has. You have that.
But the whole thing is get to the solution, and then let's apply this. But if people just keep complaining and they don't want to get to the solution, then I'm just like, listen, you have a decision to make here. You can either stay and complain, but don't complain to me, or find another job. I mean, you don't really want to say that because, retention is retention.
I always say,
retention is a thing. A lot of companies, they people hop around, and so you want to retain someone because, as we know, it's more expensive to hire somebody new than to keep somebody that's already there. But that's my thing. I don't mind people that complain, but what are you going to do about it?
I agree.
That's my whole thing, is just don't keep complaining about a situation. Do something about it. Either change your attitude, see it from another point of view, or leave.
But those are your choices. I always say that if you don't like it here, there's no change on your feet. If you don't, you can leave. If you choose to say, shut up.
Yeah.
Right? And I know I can be a little playful because I'm a consultant and I go in these corporations and I don't, but it's really true, right? If you choose to stay here, decide that you're going to make it work. Yeah. Decide that you're going to get, you're going to enjoy more of your days than not.
So yeah, I was always better at working with teams rather than managing up. Okay. Managing up was always an issue for me. Not everywhere, obviously, because it's I believe, and this is something that was said to me, and it made a lot of sense. Something that was said to me at one advertising agency. It's about pairing personalities, because not all personalities will mix. I mean, that's just the way of the world. You can't get along with everybody. You're not going to gel with every single person that you meet. So, you know, their brilliance was that they would move people around. Instead of getting rid of them, they would find another place, and maybe that person, especially if they had the skill set, would work in another group as opposed to the current group that they were in.
And then everybody's happier.
It did, you know, like I said, when in that situation, I was moved from one group to another, and we all loved each other. We all worked with each other really well. You know, I obviously was in project management operations, so I set the process, and everybody was like, yeah, it works because it's very organized and we know where everything is, so yeah, why not? I was able to sell it. But I guess it's that's the whole thing, is also looking at the personalities. Do they really fit? And if they don't, maybe, you know, the corporation should use that as a solution, right?
I think, you know, there's two things, right? It's doing that, right? Realize that you have a valuable employee here who's not giving their best because of the circumstances, and possibly if you move them, they could give more, better performer. Or reframing, right? You're not going to like everybody you work with, and that's okay. I don't have to like you. I have to respect you.
Yes.
I have to treat you kindly, and I have to just get the job done.
Yes.
Right? Because at the end of the day, we're in business to produce a result.
Yes.
So realizing that it's not personal, it's okay.
Yeah.
But I think we get so caught up in everybody, you know, having to.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I mean, I would say for myself is, you know, like I said, speaking to you and listening to you and how you work with your clients and applying it to myself, is I might not like the person, but at the same time, I was very professional in the sense that I would do my job. Yeah. I may not like you, but okay, we have to get this report done. We have to get this done. So here's the information you need to get your part done, so that then it'll help me get my job
and
done.
is it? I mean, that sounds so simple, and that's the way people should do it, but they don't. They put all the drama into it, and it gets all. I'm like, oh my gosh.
They become roadblocks or bottlenecks, and it's just yeah. So how about your book? Why don't you talk a little bit about your book, Happiness is a Habit?
Okay. So my book came out of I have been speaking since 1997 on various topics around all these same principles.
Yeah.
And every time I would speak, someone would say, do you have a book? Do you have a book? And I didn't have a book. So I finally sat down and I wrote a book.
That book, right?
And I decided, what was it going to be about? And I realized that all of the things that got me through the hardest, scariest, saddest, darkest times of my life were habits that I had put in place mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally to keep me fit. And I call it core, the core of who you are being, if you think of a yoga person who, like, you know, bounces on their pinkies upside down and you go, where's their strength coming from? It comes from their core. So your core, what are your habits mentally? Every single day you choose what you wear, you choose what you eat, but are you choosing what you're thinking? So mental habits, physical habits, simple, right? Eating, sleeping, where are you getting your energy? Mental, physical, spiritual, you know, where do you go to connect to something greater than you? And then emotional, who are the people in your life? Those relationships, what are you doing to nurture them? And relationships with other people, but also with yourself. So what I did was I took 44 habits, they're all my habits, and some of them overlap. And the beauty of it is mental, physical, spiritual, emotional. You could take a walk in the woods with a loved one and hit all four.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's 44 habits outlined. Here's the habit. Here's how I use it in my life, and here's how to create the habit in your life. And you pick and choose. What speaks to you? Because I want it to be for you, not for me.
Absolutely. So how about expounding on a couple of your habits? So maybe one for each section.
So the one that just popped into my head, so I'm going to go with it, is the morning. Mornings are really important, or either nighttime or morning rituals. One of my habits is educate, motivate, or inspire yourself first thing in the morning. So upon rising, do something that makes you feel good. Read something that inspires you, watch something, download a happy playlist. Don't turn on the television and watch the doom and gloom report, as I call it. Do something that sets your tone for the day, because you wake up. That's so important. And a lot of people say to me, oh, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I'm like, well, get back in bed and get out on the other side. Like, what does that mean? That's like this crazy phrase we've just labeled ourselves,
yeah.
now we could be in a bad mood for the next 24 hours. So that's one is really important, setting your tone for the day. Let's see. Spiritually, again, I journal, I meditate, I walk, I hike. Whatever it is, some people go to the church or the synagogue, some people go to the mountaintop.
Yeah.
But what is it that grounds you in that there's something about this universe, about this planet that I can't figure it out, but it's amazing. And just connecting with that on a regular basis. So I guess I did mental, spiritual, physical. Again, I say one of my habits is move your body. And it's not, how can I say this? I'm not against Fitbits and counting calories and all those fabulous things, but we've become so obsessed with how many steps we took and how much we were on our target heart rate. I'm like, just move your body, right? Do something that makes your body, that feels good.
Uses your body,
right?
yeah.
And you can count and that's great, but don't lose yourself in that. So one of my habits is move your body. And then again, emotionally, how do you connect with you again? Are you, I started a gratitude contest, or not a gratitude contest, a gratitude challenge in the beginning of the year where we're doing 365 days of gratitude. And just really, not just writing down what you're grateful for, but feeling it. When you feel it, it connects you to, again, something greater. They're all connected, right? So you can't think about what's going right in your life and be in a bad mood.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitely true. I had this idea, I didn't do it, but I had this idea of having a jar and just every day taking a small piece of paper and writing something that I'm grateful for about that day. And then at the end of the year, just read every single piece of paper. And then, you see the paper building up and you don't have to read them in that moment. Like I said, my plan was to read it at the end of the year. But then you see the piece of paper and you're like, okay, there's all these things that I'm grateful for. And you're right about the feeling, because a lot of times, you talk about, visualizing the outcome. And a lot of people visualize the outcome, but from their mind, as opposed to from their heart or from a feeling standpoint, and it doesn't work. Right. You have to feel the emotion that you will feel when you're seeing that outcome. I know I'm all
there with you. So when I started this in January, and you could start right now, it doesn't have to be January 1st. I was kind of like doing it, I thought, for other people, not for me, because I've been doing this. I've done the jar thing.
Yeah.
But I'm having more fun doing it myself, and it's deepening my gratitude. Even though I'm the teacher of this, it's still working. And sometimes I sit with my journal, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so many things to write, I don't even know where to start. And it's that momentum, right? So that's what positive psychology talks about, gaining that momentum to get those good thoughts going. Or you can have the momentum, it's a bad day, it's raining, my boss is in a bad mood. So either way, you have two emotions, good or bad. Which way are you letting them take you?
So how about, what are the obviously you don't have to tell us what companies you gave those talks to, but what are the common topics that you're asked to speak on?
Yeah, so I do a lot on communications with the emotional intelligence. I speak on the book a lot in all different corporations. So I do a lot of keynoting with the book, and sometimes I do the workshop. It has a workshop to go with it. I speak on communications. I'm doing a lot of teamwork where we'll get a small group of a leadership team, right? The leader and all his or her direct reports, and do like a 2-day offsite where they look at their different personalities and they build trust. They talk about how they deal with conflict. So I do a lot of workshops with individual teams as well.
What is there one experience that really stands out for you in your career? Like,
oh my goodness.
I know there's a lot, but is there just one?
I've been doing this so long. There's so many. It's kind of the joy that, like, this woman, I'm speaking on Friday, for example. This woman called me up and said, I want you to speak. And I said, how'd you get my name? She said, oh, I saw you speak at such and such an organization. And I'm like, oh my God, that was 10 years ago. She's like, I loved it. Right? So it's that feeling you give people that they don't forget. And my goal is to help people, teach them how to get that feeling on their own. Right? So it's great when I'm here and I could pump you up and we could talk about all this great stuff. But all the tools I give in my book are things you could do so that you access. It's kind of like, is the glass half empty or half full? Let's chuck the whole thing out and say the glass can be refilled. Every day you can go fill up your glass with positive emotion, with good feelings, with things that lead you in the right direction.
Absolutely. So we've come to the end of the show. So thank you so much for taking the time, like I said earlier, and speaking about your book. And the book is called Happiness is a Habit. It's by Michele Phillips, and it's available on Amazon.
And Barnes & Noble, and
Barnes &
anywhere
Noble.
books are sold.
So, and for all of you out there, thank you very much for being with us again on Trish Time. Hope to see you again. Bye-bye.